friends are heathens, take it slow. Wait for them to ask you who you know. Please don't make any sudden moves. You don't know the half of the abuse. All my friends are heathens, take it slow. Wait for them to ask you who you know. Please don't make any sudden moves. You don't know the half of the abuse.
Instead you got a slow speed chase.
That night, I woke up and I called my friend and said, I just want to just recap. We found out that there's a spy. Then we found out who the spy is. Then he got shot, and then that was all in 10 minutes. He was like, yup, okay, all right.
You know why, right? You know why, right? Because snitches get blasters. That's why. Snitches get blasters.
So in 2 minutes.
He didn't even have evidence that he was the spy. He's just like, pretty sure he was the spy. We had a spy?
The fact that actor showed up, and he's a known actor, the fact that he showed up, that other motherfucker was dying. I knew he was dying. I was like, they got one too many good actors right here.
Also,
somebody getting the business.
Also, that happened in 5 minutes. Chewie gets on the plane, gets blown up. Then we found out, no, Chewie's alive. And there was a second ship.
Which I knew from the trailer anyway.
Well, you knew there was a second ship anyway, because when they saw him being taken away, there was 2 ships.
Yeah.
There was 2 ships sitting there.
Because they showed 2 ships, and then they came out, and you see 1 ship leaving.
Okay.
The other ship's already gone.
Right. So they're leaving the MacGuffin like, it was Chewie's ship.
No,
was it? You don't know if it was Chewie's ship. There was 2 of them there, but okay, it's Chewie's ship. Whoa, she killed him. Why is this bitch grabbing starships now? I don't get it.
Why not?
I mean, why? No.
You got problems with her grabbing starships?
I do.
Why? It's the Force. Do whatever the fuck you want.
Fuck that.
Just make this shit up as we go along.
Apparently, that's what it looked like.
You know someone can do that with the Force.
I know someone can. Not her ass.
Everyone can. Because she's a Palpatine.
So
The fuck does that mean?
wait,
Palpatine wasn't that goddamn strong.
Yeah, he was. In the dark side.
Palpatine's main strength, even in the dark side, was manipulating people.
He can still do crazy shit like that.
Apparently.
If you read enough books.
Yeah. The only one I didn't read was his book, the Palpatine book. I'm like, do I need to go back and find out who he was fucking to produce this child that we introduced and then kill and never give a fuck about again? He had a son, but it doesn't matter. His daughter's all that matters.
Like the son is important.
How old was he? He was old in episode 1 when Anakin was like 10. He gotta be like, the Force is strong within him.
He is
Wait,
definitely.
have you seen Rise of Skywalker? Yeah. Oh, okay, alright.
He's deep in the Force.
He was deep in something.
He was. Acolytes.
In eugenics programs.
Tyler.
I'm Kiev.
Oh, nice to meet you.
But
That's
no,
the thing,
man,
they keep-
that was the whole thing for me. It was like, he's got 2 movies here. He's trying to get everything done in 2 movies, and people are still complaining that it's too long.
That was a trilogy itself, that movie.
I'm telling you, that was J.J. Abrams pulling a Bryan Singer. He cleaned up that movie. He pulled what was the one with Bryan Singer with the X-Men? The fucking Days of Future Past. When he went back and retconned and fixed a bunch of that shit that the rest of the motherfuckers had screwed up all those years ago. He tried to clean it all up, polish it a little bit. It's like, look, everybody, yes, I know it's a turd, but look, it's shiny now. And get out of that movie. It's like, okay, you step right, just run with this and you'll be okay. No, they're going to shoot it in the face again.
So, with your audience, did everyone laugh or was like crying or whatever when Ben Solo faded away?
No, because I think I got the shitty audience. I think I got the non-geek audience, and it happens because they're just sitting there and like they're in disbelief.
I got the non-geek.
They don't know what to give a fuck about because nobody's told them. So they're just sitting there and just watching over them like, okay.
I remember just he faded away, we just started going crazy.
I didn't laugh. I was like, that's fucked up.
I was sitting with
That's
Maggie.
bullshit.
I was sitting with Maggie, and when they kissed, she's like, ew. I'm like, you're right, Maggie. That is gross.
She kissed him there. I was like, oh, fuck you.
Yeah. As soon as she kissed him, like, oh, he's gonna die.
Yeah, he did.
He did.
When he came back and gave her some of his life force, like, now he's gonna die, right?
He's gonna die.
Well, we know Base Window's dead. Because we heard the voice.
This
is true. Mace is fucking dead as hell.
Dude, they had.
Ouch.
They had.
But I like that.
Ahsoka
I like that scene.
in that scene.
Ahsoka
They
is
had
dead.
Kana in that scene.
the dude from what?
Kane or whatever his name is.
The dude from Rebels.
Yeah. They had him in
Kanan
that shit.
Jarrus.
Like, oh shit.
Freddie Prinze Jr.
That was actually a good scene. That was why.
They had what's her name? The green chick with the shit on her face. They had the Twilight chick. I used to know all these people's names.
Yeah. Well, that was the part. That was one of the parts where I actually liked because one, it was two things mixed together. One, they turned fucking Rey into the fucking Avatar. I was like, since when that's not how the Force works. What the fuck?
There it is.
But okay, she's channeling all the past Jedi. Okay, what the fuck? But it was cool in the fact that everybody was in there doing their voices. I was like, okay, now that was cool. You gave me some crap, and then you put some candy coating on it. It's like, oh, well, this is shit, but okay,
It's
it
a
tastes
shiny
sweet.
candy coated turd.
Exactly. I'm like, oh, that was a good nod, but and that's how I came away from the movies. Like, it wasn't terrible. It was some good nods to stuff in there because J.J. Abrams was doing it, and at least a little bit he's a fan.
Yeah.
But there was some other shit in there that's like, he just had to run with what the fuck he got.
Come on, you have to admit.
You got to run with what you got. That's what it was.
J.J. Abrams had made all 3 movies.
It'll make sense. It'll be
And had been able to make them without the looming weird. Because I'm pretty sure it wasn't his decision to try and remake the original trilogy.
Except for the first movie.
No, I'm saying I don't think that was his idea. I don't think
so
he
either.
came in and said, "All right, we got to make a New Hope."
No. Because when he did Star Trek, he didn't sit down and remake Star Trek. He made a whole new fucking shit. And you can bitch about it, but he at least gave a plausible reason why this universe would exist and the other one still existed because he didn't shit on what came before and he made something new out of it.
Yeah. So I think he came in, he made the best movies he could with what he had to work with.
Yes, he did.
I think in the second movie, we would have had more, oh, by the way, here's why the Knights of Ren and why Snoke. And by the way, Finn's a little Force sensitive.
Well, we kind of got that in the first movie.
We kind of got it,
Kinda.
but it was kind of like, is it true? Because you never really got anything.
Because
then in this third one, you got, yes, it's true. He's must be for some Force going up in here.
Yeah.
His whole awakening was when the bloody hand touched him.
Yeah.
That was his whole the part of the Force Awakens. It awakened in 2 people. Apparently. Just one of them ended up being a Jedi and Finn didn't.
Yeah.
Because he's still too fucking scared.
End up being like, well, I think it was
Could have went a Sith though, because he had a lot of fear in his ass.
I think it's one of those things like Maz Kanata and
She was Force sensitive.
and like half the Night Sisters.
Yeah.
They have the Force. They just don't got much going on there.
Yeah. They're not using it the way the Jedi use it.
It's like the dude in that book I read who all he had was psychometry. Like he would never make a Jedi, but he's got psychometry.
But he has psychometry.
Like Finn would never be a full-on Jedi,
But he's sensitive.
but he's sensitive.
He's sensitive enough that
He's got danger sense. Yeah, he's got Spidey sense.
He got the scared Negro sense.
Shit! Something bad gonna happen. Oh shit! Finn's running. Better run too.
So what's your opinion on Palpatine lightning powers with all the ships? I thought that was funny.
That shit was awesome. I was like, what is this, Ark of the Covenant? Like, holy shit. He just went overdone.
Palpatine just critted on Chain Lightning.
Really?
How is he only hitting the right ships? What the fuck?
He lit up the whole sky. I'm like, God dang, how did he even do that?
That's Sith power though.
It looked cool, but it's like, how the fuck did he do that? He's been dead for a while.
Fucking commercials and toys. You see Sith troopers marching up and down those commercials, and toy lines and T-shirts. Like Like they're coming out of every orifice. They're barely in the goddamn movie.
You don't even see their asses. It's just people in the stands. Like
Yeah.
those
Knights
wasn't all.
of Ren-
Those were Sith, but those wasn't all. Fighters.
Yeah.
Knights of Ren are like creeping around every corner in that movie. They finally do anything, and it's like
They ain't do nothing, but yeah, all they did was creep.
they're like,
But then I thought about it.
oh shit, Knights of Ren are creeping around the corner.
That's what I thought about. Is that in the second movie he said that
The student.
Ben Solo,
Yeah.
killed everybody else and took some of the students, right?
Yeah.
So you're thinking the Knights of Ren are
Gonna bust out a
some of these students, right? But then also you get Snoke saying, "I gave you the Knights of Ren,
Yeah.
to use or whatever." So then it's like, okay, so they're not Force users; they're just people. Because for me, I thought the second movie, the motherfuckers in red and Snoke's thing, I thought those were the Knights of Ren. They should have been, but in the movie they said they're still coming. I'm like, oh shit! So who the fuck were these guys?
I heard that they were supposed to be the Knights of Ren,
That's what I thought,
but
which would have made sense.
Johnson
Ryan Johnson. Yeah.
didn't want to kill them off without using them for something more purposeful.
Well, he wasn't getting another movie, so he might as well just
So,
said,
well, he was supposed to do the third one, then he wasn't.
But you fucked up.
After the second movie. So instead, he gave him some, Imperial Guards.
Fucked up. I'd say those were the Knights of Ren, and these were the Knights of Redux. Because they're carrying basic weapons, dude.
Like I said, it felt like J.J. Abrams was supposed to do all three movies, and then he didn't do the second one.
That's what happened.
So
So we ended up with this chimera.
what's your
We ended up with a camel.
on
Horse in the back, horse in the front, something else in the middle.
Dude back in the front.
Luke's redemption with the X-wing when he was lifting it up.
Finally, he was able to lift that X-Wing after all these years.
Well, that's the thing. That was a good nod.
Yeah.
That's J.J. Abrams giving some respect to the original material where, you have Yoda doing that in fucking Empire, right? But then you have Luke doing it now, showing that he has advanced in his Jedi powers. Problem is, though, he looks like he's straining and he's a fucking ghost, and Rey is not straining, holding his fucking freighter from flying away.
Yeah.
That's the problem. So it was cool
Yeah.
because it's a nice callback,
Yeah.
which you should have in something that's carrying on a lineage.
Yeah.
But it was those two things that was like, yeah, that's cool, but kind of screwed up on this other part. So, like I said, I think he went in and did a lot of cleanup because a lot of that shit, especially making Leia a master and stuff like that, he had to do that because you got to explain that fucking Mary Poppins scene in the last movie. You got to explain that shit.
I don't think you need to explain that. She had the Force, it kicked in.
Bullshit. But what was the main point on that? You
I think
never
they
heard
didn't
her
do
be
that.
trained. You
I think
never
they needed
heard
to
her
do
be
that
trained.
just to explain why she was training Rey. Because
The reason they did that shit was to explain why the fuck she can Mary Poppins that shit. And outside of 0G, she can just pull herself back onto the ship. Fuck Admiral Akbar and everybody else that got blown out that motherfucker. But she can do it. And that was the main question. How the fuck can she do that? She was never trained. That's why in this movie they show, no, she was trained and she was pretty strong. She was even better than Luke. That's an excuse.
All I know is this. Are we gonna get a new comic about Rey after Rise of Skywalker?
Shut the fuck up.
Yellow lightsaber.
probably. That was the other thing. Is she had the yellow Jedi Sentinel lightsaber at the end.
That's what it is.
And
Jedi
the
Sentinels.
evil Rey had this switchblade Jedi Sentinel lightsaber in there too.
Really? Is that what it is?
Because the Jedi Sentinels had those kind of lightsabers.
Yeah, but that comes way later, or that's in that Rebels show.
Clone
Right?
Wars.
Clone Wars. That's why.
And Rebels.
I don't mind the yellow one because I thought it was one of the Jedi Masters used the yellow saber
One of
too.
them did. I think
Abdul or something like
What's his
that.
name?
What is that?
yeah.
Yeah,
Mundi.
yeah, Carl Mundi with the big
Carl
big
Mundi.
head. So I don't mind
Carl
having a
Mundi.
different color thrown in there,
Yeah.
and her making her lightsaber out of what was her staff. It's cool. That kind of works for
The
her.
thing is, when it showed the
Although it
lightsaber,
looked hella ghetto.
I looked
It looked rough,
I
Did
looked
look
on
good.
YouTube and stuff, and like you watch like Force Awakens, you see like the staff at the top looks like the lightsaber. So you're like,
Well, here's the thing. Watching this movie, she's still running around with that staff and the lightsaber and the blaster. I'm like, she might as well put a blade out the top of that staff
what
and
I-
just
like,
get
why'd
to
you
Darth
cut
Dillon
that
that
bitch
shit.
in half?
Yeah.
Get the Darth Nil look going.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, she just have a real long fucking handle and that blade at the
I don't
end.
know
That'd
about,
be
I don't know
badass.
about you, though, man. If I was her, I'd be like, I know it might be tempting fate, but Evil Me had a really cool lightsaber. I might want to make that.
Dual bladed yellow? Yeah, that'd be different.
Alright, that's cool.
Yeah, and of course it was a fucking ghost for her, or force vision. Like, oh, I saw myself evil. Well, everybody does. Luke cut his daddy's head off and his face was inside.
Yoda saw his evil self. You know that one?
Hell no. When was that shit come
In the
out?
Clone Wars.
Clone Wars cartoon series.
See, here's the thing.
He went to Melchior?
Yeah. I told somebody this
Malachor?
about the Clone Wars show and the Rebel show, is that the Clone Wars show introduced a lot of shit and was basically retconning a bunch of shit in there. Because the show, I guess Filoni was on that show, right?
Yeah.
He did a lot of stuff and expanded on a lot of stuff. So some of that shit most people don't fucking know. So if you've never watched the Clone Wars, you see some of the shit in this movie, like, where the fuck did that come from?
Yeah.
Well, it actually is canon because it was in
Yeah.
Clone Wars, and Lucas was signing off on that shit. So if you didn't watch that shit, you're missing a lot of that
And
stuff.
Disney signed off to it, too.
And Disney signed off on it too. They kept it because
Most canonist thing there is.
like the Mandalorians and all the rest of that shit. That shit ain't came out nothing recent.
Revan is canon.
Yeah, you know why? Because they want to go backwards now.
Republic!
Because they want to do Knights of the Old Republic. That's why they want to keep Revan. No, fuck them. Fuck them. I never played Knights of the Old Republic. I understand that Revan is a badass. I don't know why he's a badass. I don't know why.
Dude, Revan's a dick.
That's what I heard, but what did he do?
So Revan was a normal Jedi, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the Mandalorian Wars. But the Jedi were dicks.
Mm-hmm.
Because they were more fractured back then.
Right.
So there was like, each temple was kind of unto itself.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, hey, we need to get involved in the Mandalorian Wars. They've got this space crusade going on. They're coming towards us.
Mm-hmm.
And some were like, well, it's not our problem. They're not coming. They're not in the core system. And they're like, well, with the Jedi. Others are like, well, the Jedi don't go actively seeking war. And he's like, okay, but we need to stop them before they become a problem.
It's coming
Which
here
is why the
eventually.
Mandalorians hate the Jedi. Anyway, so he went out and rounded up. He started his own crusade against the Mandalorians.
Which is why they hate the Jedi.
And that's why he wears the helmet, because he put a Mandalorian's helmet on. He repainted a Mandalorian's helmet and started wearing it.
Oh, that's fucked up.
Which is a total Mandalorian thing to do.
Yeah, total Mandalorian.
And
He might be one of the family now. Shit.
so he went around with his own crusade, trying to convince the different Jedi factions to get involved in the war with the Mandalorians. And eventually the Jedi got on board after some shit happened. And then he ended up somehow going out into the edges of space, finding the hidden Sith Empire where the Infinite Emperor was living.
Mm-hmm.
You know about the Infinite Emperor. That motherfucker. Who may or may not be canon. Which seems like Palpatine was pulling that shit.
Who was on that shit?
He was pulling that Infinite Emperor shit. So he went out there, him and his buddy Malik, I think, found him, tried to take him down, and ended up brainwashed by him instead.
All right.
So then they came back as the new herald of the new Sith Order and wreaking havoc on the Empire until they got stopped. And then Revan got amnesia. And then the old Knights of the Old Republic video game, where you're playing as Revan and who has to relearn the ways of the Force.
Oh, so you do play as Revan in the game. I didn't know it.
Hello.
Hey.
All right, how you doing?
The question that I have is, if they decide to go backwards with the Star Wars films, how much of a risk would that be, given the fact that probably the majority of moviegoers don't know anything about the New Republic, and they have a bad taste in their mouth from the Rise of Skywalker?
I'll say it's a risk just because they risk shitting on another successful part of the franchise. which is the only reason they're going backwards because they fucked up the Skywalker name so badly that they don't know where to go forward-wise. And somebody else that I was listening to on YouTube, I think it was Angry Man, was like, he said he'd make episode 9 and wipe out the last 3 movies like they never fucking happened. Like it was some alternate universe, some other bullshit with the Force. It just wipe it away. It never actually happened, and just do 3 more movies.
Rey goes back
Actually pick it up from Return of the Jedi or something like that, and that Rey and all the rest of that shit never actually existed. Just wipe it.
Time, kills Snoke before he starts bringing the First Order into this.
Yeah, because Snoke wasn't shit but a damn clone, apparently.
He was an avatar.
Apparently,
He was a
there's
puppet.
some Avatar shit going on in this too. Palpatine, Avatar drove Snoke's body around.
Snuff body too. Yeah.
Well, that answered that's why I say he did a lot of cleanup.
Yeah.
Seeing Snoke's bodies in that tomb or the tube or whatever, that answered the question that wasn't answered in the second movie. It's like, well, who the hell was Snoke? Because you killed him. Like, well, who the fuck was he? Where did he come from? Oh,
I read up on stuff. And
third movie, he's in a vat. Okay, they made him. Anyway, moving on.
I read up on stuff and it said who Snoke was, but it's all from the you had to have read this book, that book, and the other book.
Most people haven't. Most people, when they complain about this movie, they come from a position of only watching the original trilogy and the second trilogy. They don't know shit about the books. They don't know anything about the comics. Very little about the games. They don't follow all the lore, so they're coming from one place. And like, this is not like I remember. This is not what I know, or whatever. But if you read some of the other stuff, like all the Clone Wars stuff, that I haven't watched all of it. I've watched here and there. I know some of this stuff comes out of that Clone Wars.
Yeah. Well,
So I'm not overly critical. Like, yeah, I'm critical, but okay, this tracks because this goes from there. Okay, whatever. He's still on Rise of Skywalker because Kiev actually asked that. Why is it called Rise of Skywalker? I think because she took his name. Because Rise of Palpatine doesn't have a ring to it. you kind of shit on the movie before it started. Like, Rise of Palpatine? I ain't watching this shit. Never mind. You still alive? I'm out.
It sounds like clickbait right there and stuff.
It does sound like clickbait. It sounds like a 10-second movie.
That person had to ask, like, what's your name? Ray. Do you have a last name?
Solo. No, I don't have a last name.
That's what it could have been.
Solo then, eh? Nah.
Could have been Organa.
So welcome to the room of people who have rooms of people that they love one day docked away. Just because we check the guns at the door doesn't mean our brains will change from hand grenades